Time lag. Okay. So, good morning. So, we are doing the Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, and we had completed till verse 10. So, today we are going to do from verse 11 onwards. I'll just give you a small idea about what happened before this. Krishna is explaining how these two paths, and that is the path of the Sankhya Yoga as well as the Karma Yoga, how do they match with each other? Also, which is the path which is easier, and the introduction of what is called as a devotional path over here. So we are just continuing from there onwards. So now let us see. We are doing chapter 4, Bhagavad Gita, verse 11. Arjuna, howsoever men seek me, even so do I respond to them. For all men follow my path in every way. So, when a man is seeking God, he has got various deities, objects, things in this world to look for. Some people go to a Vishnu temple, they will pray to him. Some people will go to a Shiva temple, they will pray to him. In other denominations, they will go to the church, they will go to the mosque, wherever they are going and praying to God. Krishna is saying everybody is actually seeking me. Means what? It is the ultimate destination. Everybody has to seek this ultimate entity. And what he says further is, I respond to them. Now, when a person says, I am responding to you, if there is a query, there is a response, isn't it? Suppose I raise a question, there is going to be an answer. So, every time when a person stands in front of their deity, they are going to get certain answers. Now, those answers can be of any kind. Some may like it, some may not like it. Many a times the answers that we are seeking, every human being who is seeking some answer, he is not satisfied with what he is getting. He believes that this is not what I was asking for. I was asking for something else. But what is Krishna saying over here? I do respond to them. That means my response is to them. I definitely respond. For all men follow my path in every way. So whose path are they following? They are following the Lord's path only. Now, when a person says that, see, I don't believe in all this nonsense, we have saying, I don't believe in all this. This is all man's creation. And all these are fear factors. Religion was created because man has to be, under the control of this invisible force. So I agree in those terms because that person can only see that much. But what he said is having a certain iota of truth in it. He said certain words which in turn may not be understood by everybody. He said that Man has created God. There is an iota of truth in this. Man, when he creates God, he is creating a God which is conducive to him, who is going to grant him his wishes. See, in olden times, they had created God out of gold, out of some different creatures. In olden times, you might have seen in some of these temples and all, there are different kinds of gods. Now, they were definitely very much motivated in creating them for the purpose of achieving their objective. Now, this sentence I'll extrapolate further and I will tell you how it works. There is a stone and you start worshipping that stone. So, who has created this image? The thing that is called, which created the image, is faith. If a stone is being worshipped and people come and pray to it, it is their faith which makes that stone become that God. Got it? In the material worldly terms, let me explain again. People have heard about the Italian marble, very famous Italian marble. The greatest sculptor, he got the marble, chunk of marble in his studio. And the piece was lying in front of him, and from that, he created beautiful images of gods. If you go to the museums nowadays in Europe, you will find beautiful carvings, sculptures of gods and goddesses, including the statue of Venus. I'm sure you have heard about it. But it was a stone, wasn't it? It was a stone. And how did that stone suddenly become so beautiful to look at? Who created it? It is the man who has the ability to see inside that stone a beautiful image. A divine painter can see a white background and on that a beautiful painting. You may just see a white background, which is the canvas. Those who have seen modern art, it is very difficult to understand. You will think that, oh, the painter has just splashed color here, there, everything. But there are definitely people in this world who understand what is being done over there. So did you get it? You don't understand doesn't mean that that person who has drawn it is a fool. In the same way, I will say the same thing for those who said these words. That man has created God. What he doesn't realize is there are people who can understand what is there in that, whether it's a stone or image or whatever. It is their belief and faith which makes it look like that. It's a God for them. And we have to allow them their belief. Just like we allow people to believe in some stone as a beautiful statue or a painting which may not make sense to 99% of the people. Doesn't matter. So what is Krishna saying over here? Krishna is saying that all men follow my path every way. Whichever way you look at it, you are anyway following that path only. You can come from whichever direction you want. You can follow it by looking at a stone. Okay, just a very beautiful marble. In another place you may, a marble statue I mean. In another place you may see a granite statue. You may see a black stone, a rectangular, beautiful black stone. And in some places you may see just a cross. In some places you may see a pyramid. Whatever the case might be, you are still looking and seeking the same thing. And Krishna says, you are anyway seeking me. And I am there in all these things. So he says, men follow my path. So whatever you are doing is finally going to end up there only, at one place. So verse 12 says, from chapter 4, Bhagavad Gita, in this world of human beings, men seeking fruition of their activities worship the gods, for success born of actions follow quickly. This is a very beautiful phrase where he says that if you are following certain God, any God, it is anyway going to give you the fruits. Whatever fruits you are seeking, you may be seeking that I want to become a millionaire or a billionaire for that matter. Or you may be seeking that I want to be a CEO of a company. Or you may be seeking that I want to marry this girl or this boy. Whatever that a person is seeking, it will bear fruits. Okay? And success born of action follows quickly. This may sound very strange to you. I don't think I have had success like that. What is being said over here? The answer is, you have to ask very, very correct question. When you are seeking something, you have to be specific, absolutely pinpointed towards whatever you are seeking. What is it that you are seeking? Let us see a person who comes and asks God, God, give me money. God will look at him and say, okay, take 1 rupee and go. Are you happy with it? No. You are not looking for 1 rupee. What, God doesn't understand or what? He should have little brains. Huh? Well, you don't have brains. You have not asked him correctly. Can I have some money? What do you mean by some money? Some money can be even 10 paisa, 5 paisa. That's it. And he is giving you. What makes you think that he is not giving you? See the words. For success born of action follows quickly. It is going to come. In this world of human beings, men seeking the fruition of their activities worship the gods. For success born of action follows quickly. Anything that you seek, you will get it. Understand it. It is going to come to you. Let us say there is a very beautiful girl and you are saying, I want to marry her. And God says, Tathastu. Tathastu means, let it be, it will be. Now, it is anyway going to happen, isn't it? The success is guaranteed. What success? Did you tell him when you want it? Which life of yours? If it is granted, he said, okay, let me see the dates now. I think 2000 years later, when he is in his 500,000th birth of his, I will give him this girl. She will be a grasshopper and he can be a male grasshopper. Lo. I mean, are you this kind of an answer? Because see, he is looking at his timetable. Well, what were you actually asking for? It's a strange question, isn't it? Man really doesn't understand what he's asking for. He keeps on, he is so confused when he asks also, he has no clue what he's asking. Sorry. It has to be single pointed. It has to be a perfect ask. So, and that ask is absolutely to the T. You cannot go here and there. I want to come first in class. A student may ask. He is not specified which year, which class. When does he require it? You know, there is a very beautiful saying in our world, in Sanatana Dharma. We say that whenever we ask anything, the Ashtasiddhis, the 8 powers that are there of God, they are constantly saying Tathastu, 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 Tathastu. So anything that you utter is anyway going to happen. How is it going to happen? No idea. So you better be sure of what you are asking. Alright. So, and it happens quickly because it's immediately sanctioned. The date, time, place, whatever, bodies and all, that is dependent on availability, sir. It is like today we are thinking in terms of, I want to see the latest Star Wars movies. Yes, sir, when it is available. After the coronavirus is over. So can you say, I want it today, just now, right here and now? Then he will say, go watch it in Netflix. Go. It's available for you. So Krishna's words are very clear. What is he saying? He is saying whatever you go and ask the deities, the gods, his assistants. God has his assistants in the form of deities. See, deities are not God. Okay? They are not the supreme God as such. Deities are deities. They are tiny, tiny functions or powers that are there. When a person says, okay, I am going to Brahmaji, Brahma has a capacity. His capacity is only production department. He is not going to kill. He is not going to sustain. He will just produce and keep. Okay, rest is not my problem. In the companies and the factories also it's the same thing, isn't it? Every department head will say, I have done my signing. Okay, go ahead. That person over there is now supposed to handle it. So got the answer? Brahmaji has limited powers. Like that, Vishnu has limited powers. Shiva has limited powers. Lakshmi has limited powers. Lakshmi, Saraswati, they are all called deities. They have limited powers. Saraswati is in charge of education, knowledge, blah, blah, all those, arts and all that. You tell her, give me money. I think you're asking the wrong person. Don't ask that kind of a question to Saraswati. You think she's going to give you money? She's going to say, go to my sister. Her sister is Mahalakshmi. Oh, go over there. You will get your money. So you better be sure which God you are asking, number one. Don't go and ask the wrong God for something. After you have reached your number has come, then there will be a board saying, okay, you can present these papers only. And you have come to the wrong department. And then you will say, oh my God, I should have gone to that department instead of this. So you got to be absolutely sure. Whatever you seek. Got it? So if you are seeking certain specific objects in a specific manner, go to the right God, ask him the right question, it is definitely going to get sanctioned. If you are a chemistry teacher, I can't go and ask questions in English literature, isn't it? Chemistry teacher will look at you and say, don't you think you have come to the wrong place? Go to your teacher, the other one. It's exactly like that. So we are going to move to the verse 13 now. Okay. So we are doing chapter 4, Bhagavad Gita, verse 13. The four orders of society, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, were created by me, classifying them according to the gunas predominant in each and appropriating corresponding duties to them. Through the originator of this creation, know me, the immortal Lord, to be a non-doer. This is the most confusing aspect of the differentiation in this world. This verse has been misinterpreted by so many people, and casteism and all these things have come into the picture. He said this, there are four orders in the society. Four orders in the society are clearly defined. The Brahman, the Kshatriya, the Vaishya and the Shudra. They were created by me. Krishna says, I have created these orders in the society. Now, how has he created? Classifying them according to the gunas prominent in them, predominant in each, and appropriating corresponding duties to them. Now, this is something which we have to understand. People have gone and classified themselves. I belong to this caste. And casteism has become quite a big thing. I am a Brahmin. I am a Kshatriya. What are they talking about? A Brahmin who is eating all kinds of stuff? Pork and meat and fish and everything? Think about it. A Kshatriya who has never even picked up a weapon in his life? Never. A Shudra who has become a politician and is ruling all over? A Vaishya who has never done business in life but is working for an IT company? Do you understand there is a problem here? Krishna has never defined these four in these categories. The four, these are called varnas. See, they are not defined the way that you are thinking. They are defined in a very peculiar manner. It is as per the jobs done by these people. Okay, now look at it. There are certain specific jobs, duties done by specific people, driven by their nature. Their nature drives them. Classifying them according to the gunas predominant in them. What are these gunas? Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. You see, in today's day and age, if there is a king who is not even doing any work at all, is just sitting and sleeping whole day, is not from the kingly class. He is a lowest one. He is full of tamas. Any person who is full of tamas is classified in the last category of Shudra. So he may be a Brahmin in the material world. In the material world, he's according to his all those papers, he says, I am a Brahmin. But sir, if you are the laziest creature on earth and if you are doing all the wrong stuff in the world, robbing people of money and all that, you are a Shudra. You are not a Brahmin. So here Krishna has defined it very clearly. It is as per the gunas that a person has. Got the answer? The gunas are defining this person. Then he says, appropriating corresponding duties to them. I have appropriated duties to these people. So don't go by the caste system which came from that past somewhere. No, you go by the current interpretation of this verse. The interpretation is very clear. Those who are of 100% sattvic nature, 100% sattva in you, such a person becomes a Brahman. He may be the person who may be sitting at home doing his job over there. She could be just a housewife but lost in the Lord, constantly doing all the good stuff in the world. She will be called a Brahmin. Not the traditional way of thinking that the Brahmin is like that. That is all wrong. Go as per this verse. This verse is clearly defining. Krishna has not said that you have to come from the past like that. No. This is not the way. Any person who is full of rajas, activity based, 90% rajas in him, 10% rest of the things. He will be a Kshatriya, the doer, somebody who does things. The third one is Rajas and Tamas bundled, 50-50%. These are the business kind of people. They don't lift their fingers, but they know how to make money. Such kind of people who have these 50% Rajas and 50% Tamas in them could be classified very simply as Vaishyas in this world. And then we come to the last one. Full of Tamas. They may be working in the greatest of the offices in the world also. They may be CEOs of companies. But their CEO means he must be having so many mansions. He is indulging in lust and greed. He is always having a yacht. He is having hundreds of women around him. You know, there are lots of people. You can see them. He has actually nothing to do. The money works for him sometimes. Or the lazy bone of this whole era. A person who is not even, he is always doing, nothing. Somebody who is lazy. Whenever you ask the person, I was sleeping. What do you mean by you were sleeping? You come from the Shudra caste. So this is how Krishna has defined. Now show me where it is written that there are these kind of castes which are not defined. Krishna's definition of the caste is very clear. The Brahmins are also known as the knower of Brahma. They are full of sattva, 100% sattva. The second one is the Kshatriya who is having predominant rajas. Predominant rajas. Certain sattva, predominant rajas, a little bit of tamas. The Vaishya will have no sattva, zero sattva. Rajas and tamas mixed in equal quantity. And the last person called Shudra is a person who has got 100% tamas in him. So you decide. What has Krishna said over here? Now, he has made no distinction between a man and a woman. So a woman who is full of sattva could be a Brahmin. She may be married to the laziest guy on earth who may be a Shudra. So it doesn't make their children Shudra just because they are following the father's path. No. The child may become a scientist, may become a nuclear scientist, may become an astrophysicist or whatever, or mathematician. He will become a Kshatriya because he is constantly working. He has following the path of whatever God has given him. Krishna has defined the path, and that is what he is following, and that is the reason why he is supposed to be doing that. So don't ever mix up that I am a Brahmin just because you are wearing a white color thread. You cannot become a Brahmin by wearing some nice lungi, white color lungi, or some kind of clothes and putting some tikas over here. Doesn't make you that. You may be wearing all these things and yet having a very great idea in mind how to loot another person. Then you are a Shudra or maybe a Vaishya. Doesn't matter. So Vaishyas are not basically the way we look at them. Or Shudras are not the way people are considering themselves. That is a distortion of truth. Krishna has never said this anywhere. He says, though the originator of know me, the immortal Lord, I am still a non-doer. Okay. The last line I have yet to explain. He says, I have defined these four: Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. The four categories. They are to be defined by the gunas that are present in them and the activities that they are indulging in, the duties that they perform. Got the answer? That is the answer. Appropriating corresponding duties to them. Now, I have given jobs to everybody. But let me tell you something. Krishna says, I am not the doer in this. This is a very powerful line. People have always asked me, what does it mean that he is not a doer? Just now, before this, I was explaining that when a man looks at a statue, looks at a marble piece, he can see the image of God in it. He's a sculptor, isn't it? He is the doer. D-O-E-R, doer. He does something. So I, Krishna, have given the capability of doership to every human being. Don't think that I am going to come and do your dirty job. Got the answer? Every human being has been given a capability. It is called self-effort. So don't blame God, oh God, I cannot get up, I feel so lazy. Oh God, I cannot get up, I feel so lazy. You are the lazy one. Don't say God. God is not involved in your action. Your job is to get up. Your job is to do the work. So you can define yourself whether you want to become a Brahman or whether you want to become a Kshatriya. If you are the lazy bone, you are a Shudra. Guaranteed. And by the way, who is defining this? You yourself. You have the capability in you. Everybody has the hidden potential inside of them. What do you want to do? When anybody comes to me, I tell them very clearly, you got to do it. Nobody else is going to do it. Got the answer? This is what he means. He says, don't expect me to do that job for you. You have to do it. And don't come and beg from me, Krishna, can you do this for me? Yeah, I have a lot of people in my world also who come and beg from me, can you please do this for me? What are you talking about? God has given you the capability. Go and do it. And don't keep on saying, I don't know this, I don't know this, I don't know this, and I am not capable. This I have never done before. What are you saying? You have not done this before is a very common statement. When you went to college, nobody has gone to college before. You are now entering it. It is by doing you will get the knowledge and the experience also, isn't it? I have never ridden a bicycle. What? Well, those who have never ridden a bicycle have never ridden a bicycle. Now it's just time to start. So go ride it. The French government and the European government is going to pay money for people to learn cycling. Free cycles. You can go cycling in Europe. Why? Coronavirus. See? So cycling is now becoming good. You should all become cyclists. So don't say, I don't know this, I don't know that. You know it. You just got to put effort in it. And that is where your tamas guna comes into play and you become a shudra in your life. I don't know how to do this. Even if I have to say to people, see, if you don't know, go to YouTube, go to Google. Google is like, material worldly God. You go say, Google, please tell me how to make undiyu, how to make dokla, how to make khakra. You think Google is not going to tell you? Huh? You want to make bakery products? You go to any of these places, ask Google, go. And then don't say, I don't know. Today, if any person says to me, I don't know, I ask them first question, have you gone and done your research? Go do your research first. Go. So Krishna says very clearly, I am not the doer. Please don't come to me begging for this kind of an answer. You are the doer. I've given you the capability. I've given you everything. Go and do it. So we are going to the next verse. Chapter 4, Bhagavad Gita, verse 14. Since I have no craving for the fruit of action, actions do not taint me. Even he who thus knows me in reality is not bound by actions. This is a very cryptic statement. Yesterday was a very important day for a certain number of people in this world. Okay? So he says, do or do not. There is no try. You know who said these words? A very great man. His name was Yoda. And yesterday's day is called 4th of July, 4th of May. You know this, no? 4th of May. Do you know what is so important about 4th of May? There is a statement in Star Wars which says, may the force be with you, isn't it? So you say, force be with you. May 4th. See? May the 4th be with you. In that also, Master Yoda is a very important person. This particular phrase was made famous by a politician. Okay, her name was Margaret Thatcher. She became the Prime Minister of England way back in time. She said, "May the fourth be with you, Maggie." So that is how it became famous. Okay, and Star Wars is celebrated on 4th of May. So it's a big occasion and people go and celebrate. Why am I telling you about this? Because it's a religion created by this. May the force be with you. Master Yoda tells this to all his disciples, whoever they are, that you got to do your work. Do or do not. There is no try. You have to do it. No saying, I am not going to try. You have to do it. And there is no trial as such. If I push you from top of the mountain, you are anyway going to flap your hands like this. Or if I push you in a well, or water in a swimming pool, you are going to try to swim. There is no do or do not. And there is no trying over there. You are in that hot water, you got to get out of it, right? So this is what Krishna is telling you over here. Star Wars is nothing but Krishna's story also. All these great movies, they are nothing but the great stories of our past concocted once again so that the current generation can see them. So yeah. So let us come to it. Since I have no cravings for the fruit of action, action do not taint me. Even he who thus knows me in reality is not bound by actions. Master Yoda himself may not do anything, but he teaches all the young people. Luke Skywalker, right? So imagine, Arjuna is there, Krishna is there. Krishna says, I am not going to do anything. I am not interested in you winning this Kurukshetra war. Why should I be interested? You see, if you win, you will get the kingdom. What do you think I will get? I am not going to get anything out of it. Likewise, when my disciples come to me, I tell them very simply, do you think I am teaching you this so that I am going to get anything out of you or from anybody? You are sadly mistaken. You will become great. If I kick your ass, you will become great. Let me assure you this much. Because remember, you may be a Shudra for all you know. Tamas guna. Huh? So if I push you, if I ask you to do something, you will become great, you will become famous, you will do something in your life. What is it to me? Because see, as a guru, I am not interested in making myself famous. And I am not self-motivated like that kind of a stuff where, yeah, I have to put myself at the forefront of everything, plaster my name in all the walls of this world. I don't care for notoriety, neither for becoming famous. I am not interested. But you are. And you better back up and you better do something about it. Doership is with you, not with Krishna. Krishna is not the doer. Never. He is not the doer because he doesn't crave for anything. Somebody had the cheek to say this to me. Hey, Krishna has got everything. Why does he bother? Well, there is another verse where Krishna will say, but I do everything. That also is there. So just wait for it to come. Yeah, the explanation over there will be different. But in this case, all the actions that you perform qualify you to one of those four castes that are there. You can be a Brahmin, which is the highest, full of sattva. Or you can be a Shudra, full of tamas. So you decide and you take up whatever category that you wish to take up. He says, but I am not bothered about it. I am not even interested in it. I am not even caring about it because I don't have to do any job. And then he qualifies one more sentence which I said to you before this. When people come to me, did I say these words? As a guru, when people come to me, that is where he says, even he who thus knows me in reality, the knower of the truth, the one who knows Krishna, that person is called the guru, is called the sage, is called the saint, is called the gopi. You understand this? The devotee of God, that is the person we are talking about. So Krishna says, just like I don't have to do anything in this world because I have no motivation. I am not interested in money, power, fame, fortune, nothing is going to interest me. He says, I have no craving for any fruits of the action. No fruits I am bothered about. So since I am not bothered, my devotee, who is the guru, the teacher, the master, the sage, the saint, the gopis and the gopikas of this world, the devotees of Lord, they too have nothing to do. Even he who thus knows me in reality is not bound by actions. They do some action, but they are not responsible for the action. Responsible means no karma is accrued to them. We are doing a particular chapter for karma also, isn't it? So whatever action which a guru, the master or whoever, the saint, the sage, the devotee does, he is not bound by that action. So even if he doesn't do any action, it doesn't matter. If he does any action, it doesn't matter. Because he is not focused on the fruit. The only fruit that the master is focused on is that his disciple becomes somebody great. Just like Krishna is telling Arjuna, you become somebody great. Don't be a lazy bone. Don't come and tell me, I don't want to fight this war. Don't be a sissy. Don't say, no, I can't fight this war. Don't say these words. So this is the truth about what Krishna is saying. Having done next verse. Okay. This is verse 15. Chapter 4, Bhagavad Gita. Having known thus, action was performed even by the ancient seekers for liberation. Therefore, you also perform actions as have been performed by the ancients from antiquity. So in the last verse, we were discussing about the seers, the saints, the sages, the teachers, the gurus, the devotees of Lord. We were discussing about all these people. And he has said in the last one, they are not bound by the actions. So here he is qualifying this statement further. He says, this was known to all these people because they know me, correct? They know Krishna. Because the seers, the saints, the sages, they know Krishna very well. So even if they perform any action, that action is not bound to them. No karma accrues to them. Why? I am the one who has told them to do that. Krishna is saying these words. I am the one who has instructed them to do that. They are just doing their swadharma. So, this you have known So all the actions performed by the seers and sages, by the devotees of the Lord, the ancient seekers of liberation, those who wanted liberation in the past, they have performed actions. Actions could be of any kind, as have been performed by the ancients from antiquity. So now also, if they perform any actions, those who are on the path of the sattva or beyond, actually beyond, not sattva itself. So those who are performing actions, they are not bound by them. So if I have told you to do certain actions, see, these words are very, very important. If you are instructed to do certain actions by Krishna, if you do them, no karma will get accrued to you. No karma is going to stick to you. But you have to do it exactly the way he has said to do. Do you remember the verse where I said, if you go and ask the gods in a very ambiguous manner, you are not going to get anything? He sanctioned it, but it may be many lives later, correct? So there is no ambiguity in this statement over here. There should be no ambiguity whatsoever. Krishna has given you a duty. Go and do it the way it has been told to you. Don't think that you can do tomorrow, day after tomorrow, later, 1 year down the line, 10 years down the line. No. If he says that you got to do it, you do it. If you do it that way, no karma will accrue to you. So, the performance of action, having known thus, action was performed even by the ancient seekers of liberation. Therefore, do you also perform actions as have been performed by the ancients from antiquity. That is why Mr. Yoda said, do or do not, there is no try. You have to do it. There are no two ways about it. You got to do the actions. When you do the actions, when you have been told to do it. Do it. The sum total of all the teachings in the Bhagavad Gita, the entire Bhagavad Gita, if you go and if you squeeze it, and take out the drops, the essence of it, what is Krishna telling Arjuna? Just do your actions. Don't keep on talking too much. Don't keep on asking, now I have another question. Now I have another question. Now I have another question. Why are you dragging this till 18 chapter 700 verses? You really are I don't know what. So this is the truth about life. Why are you dragging it? It's like the Ramayana serial going on. It will go on beyond this COVID virus also. Just now they have crores of people looking at it. In the future, who is going to sit and watch it? You got to be swift, fast. You have to do the action now, here, just now. Otherwise, what happens? You see, you get extension and extension and extension and extension. You know that, no? Extensions and extensions. Why you want extensions? And when you get extensions, you perform karma. So don't do that. So we have come to the end of verse 15. The verse 16 has a very serious question and answer. So I am not going to do it today. I will do it the next time, next Tuesday. But before I end this, I want you to know something. Afternoon, every day, weekday, Monday to Friday, we are doing a Q&A session. Question and answers. You can ask any spiritual question. You please go to Krishna Knows. You can post the question. There is a link given over there. Your questions will come up in a particular order and they will be answered. If you do not have the time, you can watch this on any of the platforms, including YouTube, Facebook, or whatever. And you can send in your questions and look at it. And Saturday, Sunday in the morning, 6:30 to 7:30, we have the Uddhav Gita. It's live Uddhav Gita on Facebook also. And later on, you can see the recording, even on YouTube. So, there also you can join us. So, you take care. You have a very good day. Stay safe. If you are in the red zone, don't step out. All right. Take care. Bye. Have a nice day.